Okay, so let's take a look at the power of compounding more frequently. So we've seen that the rate was really important for how much we could make, but how often we calculate our interest is also affects how much we make. So we're going to be looking at an initial investment of $10,000 where we make 10% per year. So we are going to be considering this in the case that we compound twice a year, semi-annual. Okay, so in our case, our initial investment was $10,000. Our rate of return was 10% per year, and we write this as a decimal, as 0.1. The number of compounding periods we have in a year is going to be equal to 2. And so we can write our function for the amount of money we have in our account at time t in years as 10,000 times 1 plus 0.1 over 2 to the 2t. Okay. If there are a couple of ways we can express this to make it more useful, more helpful for others. We can add this base together so that we get 1.05 to the 2t. And we could also do things like we could calculate 1.05 squared. So rewriting this as 1.05 squared to the t. Let's give this to our calculator. 1.05 squared tells us how much we expect to make in 1 year. So we're going to make a little bit more than 10% in a year. We'll make 10.25%. Okay, let's take a look at how much we make after 30 years. P of 30 then is 10,000 times 1.1025 to the 30. And when we go to put this into our calculator, it's easiest to work with. You do the exponents first, and then we're going to multiply in that $10,000 out front. Okay, and so we get 10,000 times 18.68. Or $186,800. Okay. Let's compare this to yearly compounding. There, our function P of t was equal to 10,000 times 1 plus our rate, which is 0.1 to the t. That was 10,000 times 1.01, nope, 1.1 t, 1.1 to the t. And we saw that at 30 years, this is 10,000 times 1.1 to the 30, or 10,000. 1.1 to the 30. You can put this into our calculator, and we get 17.45, or $174,500. By stopping halfway, calculating our interest, we then are able to make interest. We have growth on that interest. Okay, So we see that we got some more money by compounding twice a year. Next, let's take a look at what happens if we take that same principal, that same initial amount, that same yearly rate, but this time we're going to calculate our interest weekly. So that means 52 times a year. So we have this same initial investment of $10,000. Our yearly rate is the same, 10%, or 0.1. Now the number of compounding periods that we have in a year are 52. Every week we figure out how much interest we made and we get that interest back. Okay, and so this is going to be equal to 10,000 times 1 plus that 0.1, except now we've divided up into 52 different pay periods. And we have 52 T periods. All right. So we can express this as 10,000. And then we're going to use our calculator. So we have 0.1 divided by 52. So this is 1.001923 for the 52T. And I think it's helpful to see what's going on if we rewrite this as 1.001923 to the 52th power, all to the t. Okay. Okay. And so because that will tell us what we're actually making in a given year. So this is 1.105 to the t. All right, so that means that in 1 year, we're going to make 10.5% interest off of our investment. Okay, we can look at how much we made over 30 years by evaluating this, where t is 30. Okay. And so this gives us 10,000 times 20.03 rather. Or $200,300. Okay, so what have we noticed? If we compounded once a year, we over 30 years we'll make 174,000. Oh, at the end of 30 years, we'll have $174,500 in our account. If we compound twice a year, that same initial investment, we'll have $186,800. If we compound 52 times a year, so every week, we have $200,300. So what I'd like you to look at is what's happening to the number of times, what happens to this value as the number of times we compound in a year increases. So this is going to be, this goes up. What you'll notice is that we made some good money from having 52 compounding periods in a year. But is there some sort of like upper limit of how much we can make? So for example, what if we compounded every day or every hour or every minute? How much is there some like upper limit on how much we could make within those 30 years? All right, so that's what we're going to look at next.